welcome to the very first episode of the Live Motocross podcast. Today is going to be pretty short and sweet from me on your intro, but we are going to jump straight into an interview with RHL frontman Gareth Hockey and discuss all the craziness that's going on in the world and also chat through the first round at Little Silver. So joining me now via Skype, obviously, this week, we've got RHL frontman Gareth Hockey to the new Live podcast.
Good morning, Soph. Hope everything's good with you, and I'm glad to be your guinea pig for the first episode ever of this podcast.
Well, if you could see me at the minute, Gareth, I look like Harry Potter because I'm sat underneath the stairs. So, one of the main reasons, I'm sure you'll agree, is why we wanted to start one of these podcasts is to kind of bring some more positivity back over the craziness that's been happening in the world the past couple of weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%. And like I say, it is a strange time. I've spoken to Dave Wheeler, I've spoken to Jeff. I was obviously going to do this podcast idea with the guys at MX Vice, but I think James has gone into hibernation or shut down. So, I'm going to do it via Live, obviously. But yeah, I think what people need to realise is, 2000 we had foot and mouth, and perhaps for our industry and our sport, that's probably worse than the current situation because we were all left alone. So, unfortunately, this poxy virus, we're all in it together. And yeah, it's a bit of a downer at the minute, but I think everyone needs to be positive. If we do what the government say, we'll be back racing. Hopefully June it appears. So fingers crossed we can all get on and be positive with life.
Yeah, defo. So one thing we're going to go into on the podcast is straight into the nitty-gritty stuff. I know the past couple of weeks, obviously, we had to cancel the first round of the joint championship with the British Championship and the BYC. And you've had quite a bit of backlash on that over social media, and obviously quite a bit of support as well. So how have you been finding that?
To be honest, I quite like the negativity because it's what motivates myself. It motivates RHL.
Yeah.
RHL, we do good, bad, uglies with all our key people, all my staff, and some of our sponsors and people from outside the sport. Like I say, there's some negativity, but you can put that sometimes down to the people. But let's get it out there. Let's get it dealt with. The professional people I think that have put comments on, I'm very thankful for their support.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a way forward. So let's thrash it out and get my own personal views over, not RHL's views. These are my personal views. So if I swear, I do apologise.
It's all right. It's allowed on the podcast. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
So obviously we've been trying to do the merge for a while with the British and the kids. And we did a couple of successful rounds last year. How did you find the difference going obviously to Little Silver this year? Because I know a lot of people have been commenting on, was it the right track to run the first round? Was it the right, area to run the first round? All these sort of questions. But I want to hear what you think about it, really.
So track-wise, Little Silver to me is a fantastic venue. We drove in there ourselves with probably the heaviest vehicle that was on the site. It's there on Facebook. Everyone can see it. We drove 35 tons onto a field and didn't really leave a mark.
This was on the Wednesday, wasn't it?
This was on the Wednesday. So, everything up to then was like perfect. The
Mm-hmm.
weather forecast we were all looking at didn't give us rain until late on Friday. We knew we had a small issue coming. We didn't know we had, that amount of rain turning up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And up until then, everyone had driven on, everything was good. Um,
Mhm.
so picking up on the venue, 100% would go back to Little Silver, want to go back to Little Silver. Um, and the plans we had in place, we knew we had a certain amount of vehicles to go outside in the secondary field.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm picking up all this negative crap about we didn't have the parking, we didn't have the space. Um, a James and my team had identified parking away from the main site,
Yeah.
which could have easily taken round 2,500 vehicles, maybe a little bit more,
Mhm.
which we did start to use semi on the Saturday. I think the issue where we got ourselves in a bit of a mess, being honest, was Friday night.
Yeah.
It rained and it was horrible. We were trying to get people and in the end, we just ended up, because of the way the paddock was and the way things got churned up, just putting people where we could. Um,
Yeah.
uh, and the honest truth is, we probably never caught up with that, so we had to deal with it on Saturday. Um, we had space. I've looked at aerial pictures. We had space in the paddock.
Yeah.
The biggest issue was it's like getting into those spaces without making a mess or whatever. Um, there's a little bit of criticism of the way the parking was done,
Yeah.
um, and I think we I stood up in the meeting we had with the teams. I didn't say it was the parking was the issue. What I said is Gareth as RHL have to shoulder responsibilities for what was going on and the fact
Mhm.
that Sunday couldn't happen. You know, at no point was I blaming the venue, blaming anything else.
Yeah.
Let's be
Because
honest, it rained. And nothing I can do about the rain, nothing anyone else can do about the rain.
yeah,
Create.
I know quite a few people. I've seen little bits on social media and whatnot, but a lot of people have criticised the team for, we put some track previews out on the Thursday and the Friday morning, which were dry, and then obviously we had the rain on the Friday afternoon. So
Yeah.
people, I don't know if they think that they were being misguided or false information or something like that, but it just seems a bit crazy to me.
Well, but that shows people's naivety. No disrespect, you can't lie what goes out on a video.
Yeah.
We were stood there. There was riders there. The Verdi boys actually pulled in the dry. Um,
Mhm.
so for people, it's just social media. People want to have a go, and people know better. Which, yeah, I respect. Some people probably do know better, but I've seen some of the posts, that make my team and my company sound like we're a bunch of idiots.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely bollocks, to be honest with you. There was an
Mhm.
emergency evacuation plan done. There was plans done for everything. We do it no different to how we do Western. Um,
Yeah.
and that goes through so much health and safety and whatever. But
Yeah.
I can't fight the weather. None of us can fight the weather. Um, you know, if you want me to be a bit negative, the ACU asked the teams, the big teams, the
Mhm.
superstars as they think they are, to provide the footprint of their vehicles, which they
Yeah.
did. And to be fair to Dave and Terry, everything was marked out. We had spaces for what
Mhm.
we were told was coming. But then, I was on the gate dealing with the teams gone in, but then there's mum turning up with a car. There's like, one
Yeah.
one team had their space and then had an additional eight vehicles. Now,
Yeah.
we all deal with MXGP. You don't have that shit. You have your space for your team.
And that's it.
Everything else is outside, you know. And people couldn't understand that because they think they're. This is going to cause me crap, but um, shall we say the professional riders took it on board a lot better, and the professional teams worked with us, whereas perhaps the people who think they're superstars didn't. If I've offended you for saying that, well, I'm very sorry, but that's the truth.
Yeah, I do get what you're trying to say. It's
Yeah.
almost
All
sometimes.
our BYC kids,
Yep.
we asked them to provide a footprint of what they wanted to where they could park.
Hmm.
And I'd say 99% of them did that. We had a few hiccups on that because some of them wanted to be a team, but
Yeah.
that didn't get communicated to us. And like I say, Friday night when you've been in the rain for 3 hours and people are turning up, you have to park them where we can get. That was the issue.
Like I say, going through social media, and picking up on some bits. One comment that I found quite quite I wouldn't say stubborn, that's not the right word, but a bit up their own backside in the nicest way. Someone said that it was a British Championship for adults and not kids. Like, how's that gonna work?
Um, this is something that we've all debated for years. Everybody's wanted
Mhm.
the championships combined. We did it at Landrake last year. It worked fine. We had nice weather. Um, there
Yep.
was a few external things, but everyone's like, "This is great. This is the future." Um, Even
Mhm.
on Little Silver weekend, there was so much positivity and a good vibe around the paddock, around everything that it is
Yeah.
obviously the future. It rained. You need to get over it. My frustrations are with, shall we say, the older generation, people coming to the end of their careers,
Yep.
um, who think clubs, RHL promoters can afford to run with 40 riders, 60 riders, 100 riders. Um, yeah,
Mhm.
we'll run an event like that, but don't expect to get your 12 grand's worth of prize money. Don't expect the events to grow and move forward. That's going back grassroots.
Yeah.
We, um, and if it was 25 years ago when I was riding, that used to work because everyone relies on volunteers. If we look
Yeah.
at it, if we look at it now, Blackstall's a fantastic club, does a fantastic job, but all their volunteers are getting older. Um,
Yeah.
you go to Ireland, Billy does a mega job, but Billy's at a realization that there's no younger people coming in, um, and everything is going down the route of promoters. So,
Yeah.
our guide, we look at MXGP. You know, Giuseppe, I was very critical of in 2008, 2009, but
Mhm.
clear plan, clear vision. Anything in Europe now is not about MX1, MX2. It's about EMXs and things like that, and they have massive,
Yeah.
massive paddocks. And unless we, as professional riders, promoters, teams, invest in the kids, there is no future. There is no way to earn a living. There is no way to be a professional athlete in this sport. So,
Yeah.
I can take on board the comments, but there was an MXGP rider that was very negative to the fact that kids are there. But he needs to step back and look at it and think, those kids help pay my wages. My sponsors will be far happier because I've got all these kids around me looking at my product, looking at their product, than,
Yeah.
you know, being stuck in a field in Pontrilas with his 40 mates on them. Well, we don't get 40, do we? We couldn't even get 40 for the first round.
Yeah.
35 adults in MX1, and
Mhm.
1,200 people over the age of 40 watching him go round because
Yeah.
that's not investing in our sport. That's like nothing. That's killing our sport.
How do you feel about, obviously we introduced the live stream again for Little Silver. How do you think that's going to bring a new element to the championships?
I think for our sport, it's fantastic. We know what the figures are. We don't need to share that with anyone.
Mhm.
But for me, if you look at the rest of the world, you look at other sports, look at America. It's massive in America now because that is the future. That's the way we find sponsors. Um, I could have run Little Silver and I would have had probably a nice crowd for the first round. Say
Yeah.
2,000 people paying to come in. Um, but when you balance the money you need to put the event on, you need probably £50,000 plus as a promoter, as a club, probably 35-ish, because
Mhm.
clubs do it old school and look on, don't actually look at cost of track hire because they own the track. But live streaming is going to open up an opportunity for whoever runs the future of the British Championship to bring money into the clubs, to the riders, to invest in the sport. For me,
Yeah.
having nearly 200,000 people view kids racing, um,
Yeah.
that makes it easier for me to go to look at sponsors outside the sport. Go to Mercedes, go to whoever, KFC, whatever that industry is outside of our sport, and say
Mhm.
we have this engagement. I can't go to a Mercedes and say, you know, I've got 1,500 people in this paddock.
Yeah.
Invest 10 grand, because they're not going to do it. So fundamentally things need to change. Matt Bates does a mega job with Arena Cross,
Mhm.
but again, it's too small. The audience isn't there, and I think live streaming, like I say, I'll follow what the Americans do because they seem to be more into making money and investing the money back in, and
Yeah.
we'll go down that route. And that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
Um,
Wouldn't it have been
moving f
frustrating as one of those so-called professional riders on Sunday to have my BYC kids live streamed all over the world, and them having someone clicking a picture to put in a magazine that gets read by 1,200 people? It's like, you know,
Yeah, I
let's,
was gonna touch on this,
yeah,
but I don't know whether we should or not, but, it came up quite a bit from comments from the British riders and bits and bobs about, how they weren't gonna be included in the live stream on the Sunday.
yeah,
Um,
and being honest, I'm quite proud that my kids are going to be on the live streaming.
yeah,
I don't want to get into politics of it and
mhm,
whatever. We know there's a few external issues, but you know,
yeah,
working with the ACU guys we have at the moment, very enthusiastic, very good guys. And we all know as a group,
yeah,
ACU, RHL, we have to get through this season as it is.
yeah,
Fingers crossed, we're going to have a bit of a change. Whether that involves RHL or whether it involves Paul Irwin or some other promoter, I don't know. Um,
mhm,
but I think the ACU need to reflect and look at things, and perhaps the ACU now need to become the FIM of the UK sport, and we need an in front or a youth stream, because the sport needs to change. The champion, not the sport, the championship needs to change. It needs to
yeah,
become more professional, and the ACU guys, who are all volunteers and
mhm,
passionate volunteers that know the rules, set the rules, need to do that job. Um, so that's pretty much what my thinking is.
yeah, I agree with you. It just need a bit of a shake up and
Yeah,
a bit of modernising,
yeah. And
as
I think
time
the
goes
other,
on.
probably the other thing, coming back to the adult rider question,
Mhm,
um, we would love to live stream it. Um,
mhm,
there are reasons we can't. Um,
mhm,
and personally, I don't want to. Not being funny, until the adults become as professional as
yeah,
my BYC kids in their attitude to giving back, um, promoting the sport. Which,
mhm,
there's some good young riders coming in. Like if you look at Itachi with Conrad, now Eddie with Ethan,
mhm,
Kawasaki with Lewis. There are good riders that have come through BYC that are starting to come in, um, because it's not just about riding a bike anymore. It's about social
yeah,
media. It's about all that engagement. You know, we do need to have a bit of negativity, and that's why we're doing this podcast. But unless we push our sport in a positive way, we won't have a sport in 10 years.
mhm. So, pushing forward on a positive note, what's the plan? Obviously, we're struggling with the whole COVID-19 virus at the moment across the world. What's the plans moving forward for the championships to be run towards the end of this year?
I think the championships are going to be all right. I think, it's difficult to say. I know the ACU guys are nervous about committing to anything, as is any other sport in the.
Yeah.
But I think we need to look at China and look at the positives. I think the lockdown thing has now kicked in. I think round me it's a lot quieter, thank God.
Mhm.
There was a lot of stupidity last weekend. But if things go right by the end of May, I think we should start to be looking at perhaps we can do events. We have plans to push on. Maybe our season runs into October, November, December. Maybe
Yeah.
but I think the AMCA want to make it work. AMCA, sorry, I've gone off tangent there. A- Even the ACU want to make it work, and I think the positive I'm picking up out of all of this is
Yeah.
there's a lot more people talking to one another, um, and a lot more people trying to find a positive way forward. We're finding it. We're all messaging. All my staff are all messaging one another. We're all doing stuff. Like
Mhm.
we've been doing stuff with other people in this sport. Like I say, I had a conversation with Dave Willett. You know,
Yeah.
Same with Jeff, and it's like
Mhm.
we all want the same thing. We might have different ways of wanting to do it and achieve it, but hopefully, out of this, we'll all speak to one another as opposed to doing that racing thing where we've got our heads down and we just want to beat each other. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
that confuses me. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like a lot of the time people they can get a little bit stubborn and they want to butt heads because they think that their way of doing things is the best. But I feel like the sooner we kind of put our heads together, I
yeah,
think that would help a lot.
it would help a lot. But the problem is, I think the problem is we are all ex racers, retired racers.
Mhm.
So when I'm doing my event always, I want my events to be better than anyone else's. And I'm
Yeah.
sure Paul Owen is looking at his events and thinking the same. Colin is looking at his events and thinking the same.
Yeah.
You know, I've said it in the past. Me, Matt Bates, and myself have had some major issues, but in realistic terms, we would be probably a very good combination because Matt does front of house way better than anyone else in this country. He puts
Yeah.
the present, But I think my team delivers the back end of things, which people don't see a lot of.
Mhm.
And that's what's frustrated me with the little silver comments. It's like they obviously think we're some muppets that do it write it on a piece of
Yeah.
paper and don't have a plan. Um,
No one sees the back end of stuff, do they?
no, no. And that's people's naivety who probably don't run their own businesses, or if they do run their own businesses, perhaps don't understand event business. But
Mhm.
I have to look at RHL, and look at the RHL have won national awards.
Yeah.
No one else in our sports won national awards.
Yeah.
No one in our sports even bothered to like look at that and say, "Wow, that's quite good." That you know,
Yeah.
motocross is now seen in a national sporting event scenario. Um,
Yeah.
but like I say, hopefully, fingers crossed, we're all talking at the minute, and whether we're all talking because we're worried about surviving, or whether we're all talking because common sense says, "Put your heads together, guys," and then there is a massive future. That's what I think it is. But like I say, we need to see what happens.
So, moving forward as well, what have the RHL team been up to? Obviously, with this 3 weeks downtime that we've got now.
Quite a lot. We're all playing on WhatsApp, and we're having
Yep.
different things going on. Um, I have no idea what Freddie Gardner and the Musto brothers have done to me, but I'm in some Instagram chat thing with kids that are talking in language that I don't even understand. I can work out they've all had haircuts because they posted bald heads.
Oh no, they
But
shaved all the heads.
well, some have, some haven't. But it's like,
Oh god.
I know what Ben must have had for dinner yesterday or breakfast. Um, but that's what's coming out that's quite good. I think is like as a motocross family, because that's what
Mhm.
it pretty much is. Everyone's pulling together and we're all working together. Um,
Yeah.
this is going to get tougher for the next few weeks. I think
Yeah.
shutdown's going to be worse. But I think we've just got to all keep coming up with crazy ideas. I see like the Apico boys are up to something. There's lots we can do just to
Mhm.
engage with one another. Social media, that is probably the one good thing about social media. We're all locked in a room, but we can still escape the
Yeah,
world
we can still
in
communicate, can't
yeah,
we?
yeah, yeah. So fingers crossed, we can communicate with the ones who want to communicate with us.
That's it. Obviously, we decided to start the podcast during these crazy weeks to kind of give people a bit more of a positive vibe in the community. How do you feel that that's going to help people going forward? Do you think it'll help give them a few answers with the championships, or what do you
I
think?
think for this one, I think you know, let's put it out there.
Hmm.
It wasn't a good start. Um, and there's lots of negative comments. So
Yeah.
now let's all work together. Let's bung the ideas on social media wherever you want to put it. So
Hmm.
from RHL's point of view, we'll look at it and suggest things and do things.
Hmm.
But I think going forward, what needs to go out is I've been through foot and mouth with all my businesses in 2000.
Yeah.
Um, and the one thing I can sort of tell everyone is we will all survive this. We will all come out the other side of it, and motocross is going to happen again. So I think as a group of people, when we all come together,
Hmm.
and whether that's in early June at our next BYC, I wouldn't say early June, but I'll say our next BYC championship, or at worst, it's in Desert Martin with Billion Island,
Yeah.
we will be having a party to celebrate that, you know, as a group, we're still here, we're still fighting.
Yeah.
And I think what people need to remember is there are people far worse off than us out there in the world at the minute. And I think as a motocross community or as an off-road community, perhaps we just need to be a bit more supportive of the people around us.
Yeah.
Bob's mad idea at Oakley, it was a mad idea, but it's good. And I think if people can do that, let's post the positive stuff we're doing. Let's get out there and be happy
Yeah.
about it. Life will go on past this stupid virus. So, we just got to prepare ourselves.
This podcast was brought to you by Live Motocross, available on Apple, Acast, Spotify, and wherever you download your podcasts.